and make sure that you visit all of our vendors. And I thank all of our vendors for coming. You guys were wonderful. And I'll see you next month.
Welcome back into Road to the Blue Map. I'm here with my two colleagues. Guess what colleagues, guys? Colleagues?
Oh yeah.
Mr. Chandler Tyree, a.k.a. Chandler Tyree, however you would like to pronounce it.
We're in the RCA.
We're in the RCA.
The Retired Coaches of America.
I like where your head's at. Beckett, will you go with that?
Absolutely.
Alan
It's better
Beckett.
than the FCA.
That's
the
correct.
Fired Coaches of America.
Yeah, that was
we
that
talk-
show was on ESPN. Remember that a couple years ago when
Gruden.
John Gruden,
John
Fired
Gruden.
Football Coaches of a
That's
association.
something. At least you're a part of something. You got to be a part of
Man,
something.
everybody's got to belong.
You got to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything. But welcome into the Watkins Heating and Cooling Road to the Blue Map. We are here with another exciting week of high school football, and we've had these separation weeks. Boys coming for a while. We've been through the gauntlet. We've got a lot of other big matchups that we're going to be talking about today. We also want to reach out and thank Countertop Creations for having our game-by-game breakdowns each and every week. You guys definitely check out Watkins Heating and Cooling and Countertop Creations for all your countertop needs and HVAC. Is that how you pronounce it? Is that correct?
Hey, right now it's tough on them guys because in the morning time this morning it was cold. And then afternoon it was scorching hot.
So you got to have both working.
Yeah,
at the time.
it's on both. It's running hot right now.
No doubt. Let's kick this thing off in 3A. You guys ready to go?
Let's go.
3A.
Let's get it.
All right, so we're going to kick this thing off. We're going to go right here in DeKalb County, and both of you guys can break this down because each one of you, we have separated DeKalb County, and each one's on each other side. Alan Beckett, we're talking about Collinsville at Sylvania, very close matchup here. It's a 1-point line. Actually, as I was driving into the office today, seeing Coach Tanner Nelson, it was on online getting interviewed earlier by River City. Is it River City Media? The guys, I know Phil Harris is a part of it. They do a really good job up there.
I just know Average Joe, so I
You just know Average Joe. But yeah, I
think
seen Tanner Nelson being interviewed as I come in and listen to some of that. But he talked about, facing off against Ernie, which is obviously going to be kind of strange, but it's also got to happen.
I guess he was coaching Waiting at a time there, and that's he was there a long time where he played quarterback for me at Collinsville and went on to Jacksonville State, was a student assistant there. And
GA there.
Yeah, and he gets to go back and against the student gets to go against the master in Ernie Willingham. So, man, really excited to see that. And, obviously for Sylvania, you got to find a way to stop. Quintavious Rogers got a helmet sticker last week and really does a lot of good things. I think they're explosive. Collinsville's really explosive offensively, the McAteer. And, they're sitting there 4-2 in the region. And they're coming off a tough loss to Geraldine last week. Geraldine's really rolling. We'll get to that in a minute. But Sylvania, a tough loss as well, 3-1 in the region for them. So, big region game. You really want to find a way to get that 2 spot. And at least you don't want to travel. Lost 49-17 to 5 last week. But some good things. Have outscored opponents 165 to 111. So Tanner Nelson's group has moved to football. Collinsville's had a little bit of a hard time stopping people. So there lies the does it get into a high-scoring game? Collinsville wants a high-scoring game because they want a Big 12 shootout where it's in the doggone 50s because they can score points. And Sylvania's more, they're going to run the football and with a straight-up dude there at running back. So it'll be interesting. Should be a goodie.
Yeah, I'm ready to see. I think whoever can stop the run game the best is going to be the team that wins. Obviously, we talked about Quintavious Rogers. This is a matchup between two guys that's been helmet sticker winners for us. We got Aiden Parham and Quintavious Rogers. I think, like I said, taking care of the football is going to be huge in this game. A little shocked that Collinsville Geraldine score was what it was last week. I thought that game would be closer than what it was.
I did too.
Sylvania got 5 after a loss, which we don't hear very often.
Very rare.
And so they got back to the basics and fundamental. Fife did last week. So I think Sylvania just ran up against a buzzsaw. But I'm intrigued by this matchup. This could be for you feel like if Sylvania can win this matchup, you feel like that he can definitely that Sylvania will definitely host a playoff game in the first round. So this is a big game for Sylvania unless they have any trip ups along the way.
All right, our next game is going to bring us over. Speaking of Fife, let's go ahead and talk about Fife a little bit right here. When you look, you said it best, kind of after the loss to Coosa Christian, it's been a refocus. They looked very good last week versus Sylvania, and I don't think Sylvania is as bad as they looked. I mean, you're a testament to that. You're around this program.
Yeah,
take us back to
and I thought Sylvania moved the football pretty well, but Fife moved it at will, and I think Sylvania threw everything known to man at them, and that looked like Fife football. And if there's any questions about Mr. Anderson and whether he's 100%, Superman had his cape on last week and was running around, overthrew, whatever, and really they were a testament to what offensive football looks like. Very impressive outing. Was even able to throw the ball a little bit when the box was loaded. So Fife's out. They're back, folks. So if there's any question about who they are, they're back.
Absolutely. And your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think Fife rolls as Logan Anderson rolls, and the more he gets back to 100%, the better football team they're going to be. Like, everybody knows by now that you can't count Fife out until they are out of the playoffs, because they're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a team that continues to get better. They showed that last year. Had a loss to Geraldine earlier in the year. Didn't play well at times last year, and then when playoff time hit, they were hitting on all cylinders. They're going to be a team that figures out how to get better and better each week. Whitesburg Christian actually comes into this game at 3-3, so it'll be a formidable test. But Fife is. I don't see them losing another regular season football game, and I see them continuing to get better and better. Sometimes a loss can be the best thing to kind of refocus you. They've got 2 of them now, so they've got to be focused. And when they're laser focused, they're a tough team to beat.
There ain't no doubt. Beckett, talk to us about this Geraldine team. We mentioned them a little bit earlier. They're 5-1. They're a heavy point favorite right here versus Brindley. But Brindley did get off the snide last week and get a victory versus Asbury.
Yeah, let's look at Geraldine. Man, they're taking care of business, and I think with a young team, they're starting to definitely to bloom. Jordan Langford, another 126-yard game. John Beck-Wade had 14 carries, 143 yards in a game that we kind of thought would be pretty close. They just at will. Langford turnaround defensively, 9 tackles. Gabriel Garcia, 7 tackles. Jacob Bryant, pretty good outing for them. They're sitting there 3-1 in the region. Man, they're racking up the yards on the ground. Outscored opponents 251-276. So Big Mike's got it rolling at Geraldine.
Shout out, I believe it's pronounced the Frothy Dog in Geraldine. If I'm mistaking that, I apologize. I stop in there and get a coffee each week when I leave Scottsboro on my way to interview Coach Sully at Boaz. So, but I did say, hey, does Coach Michael Davis come in here? And they say, yes, he does come get coffee here, but his wife is here more frequently than he is. So shout out to those people. They do a fantastic job in Geraldine, Alabama. Next one, right back to each one of you guys get a breakdown on this one right here. We're talking about Glencoe versus Sachs. 2 teams that desperately need a win right now. Beckett, kick us off in this one right here. Glencoe sitting here at 1-5, and this is an 11-point line in Sachs' favor.
Yeah, surprised at the line a little bit. Glencoe's just played a strength of schedule's been really good. There's some things that they've been able to do. If they were in one of these weak regions, we'd be feeling good about them, although they're not a top-tier team. But, I think this is – I really like – I think they're still fighting. They're still doing some things offensively. I like them going into this game.
Talk to us from the Sachs standpoint.
Well, when you look at Sachs, obviously they've already won 2 football games this year, so there's been some improvement for them. Jules McClellan's got to have a big game for them. LaJuan Curry's got to have a big game. Arnez Hurd, Ja'Cory Avery, Shannon Noel's got to continue to be a force defensively for them. But I think in year number 2, I think that Coach Freeney is starting to get his culture going. And it's just like he said, if they were in another 3A region, I think that they may have an opportunity to be a playoff team, or at least have a better chance than where they're at now. But they did get a region win, didn't get a region win all year last year, so that's a step in the right direction. And the rest of their schedule looks like this right here. They have Glencoe this week, and then they have an off week, and then they play Ohatchee and Locust Fork. So they've got some games that they can still compete in. I mean, Glencoe, we know they hadn't won a game yet. Ohatchee is great offensively, but sometimes I think that me, you, and Coach could go suit up, and it would be tough for them to stop us defensively. And then Locust Fork, like, what is Locust Fork going to look like now? After what happened on Friday night. And so I think SAC's schedule kind of sets up for them to have a chance to compete and have a chance to win a few more games this football season.
They still got a chance at the playoffs here? If they were to win out these region games?
Let me see. I actually have that region, which I wanted to talk more. They are 1-4. It's going to be really tough on them, and I'll kind of explain that when we get to some of these other teams in that 3A region. So I want to talk about a little bit about that region because it is loaded at the top. There's going to be one really, really good football team that's not going to make that region.
Which I'd like to hear. We're starting to get to that time where it's starting to shake out.
Yeah.
Let's.
We may have a special playoff breakdown in a couple of weeks to just come on and maybe
that's good.
Maybe for like an hour and just talk about playoff.
I don't know if SACs would have to have a whole lot go their way.
Yeah.
But they're one of those teams that are definitely improved. The school board doesn't always show it, but they're definitely starting to play football the way the SACs Wildcats expect to play football.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about it. Let's move on to this next one. This next one's a little bit of an interesting matchup. We're talking about J.B. Pennington, who's 5-2 on the year. They're traveling to the Field of Champions, who's Piedmont 6-0 on the year, and absolutely dominant fashion last week. Got it done versus Locust. And I believe it's 61-14 or somewhere in that ballpark. They're a 23-point favorite right here, but this is a weird matchup because these two met in the playoffs last year. But what do you see when you look at this matchup right here?
I see a Piedmont team that I feel like is getting better week in and week out, and I think that Coach Cantrell is doing a really good job at J.B. Pennington, but Piedmont is rolling right now.
Yeah, they're on fire.
Yeah, for them to be able to do what they did last week to a really, really good football team in Locust Fork, for them to be able to control that game from start to finish, and it all started with a Raleigh Pinto 80-yard punt return. They just have a lot of guys that can make plays right now for them. When you look at Raleigh Pinto, obviously, you look at Hayes Gunn, you look at all these guys that continues to make plays for them. It's difficult to match up with them. Cole Wilson's done a great job at quarterback. They got some defensive players that can play. Their offensive line's playing well. They're just hitting on all cylinders right now. I think they kind of learned, and I think last year kind of fueled them a little bit. They had a lot of injuries early, replaced a lot of starters to start out with, lost probably their best athlete in Raleigh Pinto, and then after that you lose Ish Bethel as well last year. They've been able to stay healthy. They've been able to do, and a lot of it is staying healthy. A lot of it is having your guys on the field, especially when it gets to this time, and especially when it gets to playoffs. So J.B. Pennington rolls in at 5-2. They're right there competing for one of those spots in the playoffs. But like I said, this region is just absolutely loaded. Right now, J.B. Pennington is in the 4th spot for the playoff spot at 3-2, 5-2 overall. But you've got Piedmont, Walter Welborn, who are both still unbeaten in region play. Locust Fork, who just lost their first region game. J.B. Pennington, Westbrook Christian, who are 3-2. And then you've got Weaver, Ohatchee, Sacs, and Glencoe right there. And these teams have a chance. Weaver won big. I think Weaver was the favorite, but nobody expected them to win like they won last week. So I think all these teams have to show up every week. And we saw this last weekend in college football that on any given day, anybody can beat anybody.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Sitting in with Jonathan Miller today, he said that. He said, you could not have scripted a better college football Saturday for me as coaching points and it's no disrespect to J.B. Pennington. He's talking about within the walls of Piedmont.
Yeah.
Of letdowns, and if you don't show up and play each and every week in a region like we have, you're not only can get beat, you will get beat.
Yeah.
And he said for those guys to see that last week it makes his point a whole lot easier.
Yeah, like because sometimes you can say it as a coach and the kids don't listen because they think we're idiots.
That's right.
But when they see it for themselves and you're able to use examples,
That's
and
right.
it just happened, then yeah, that sits home with
It's
people.
like Beckett on the NCAA online. You know, he'll crack the top 25 worldwide.
Beckett don't even know how to
and
turn
then
on NCAA
He'll talk
25.
trash, and then he'll slip up and lose to a slippery rock.
Yeah, my day was man. I was heck on 1 and 2 though, but
Back in the day?
the oldies are done with it.
Oldies but goodies. Beckett, let's talk about Locust Fork right here. They're taking on this Weaver team. Locust is favored in this one. It's going to be, I hate to say these words, it just makes me want to throw up the post, Dino Imbriera. But let me tell you something. Locust still has a lot of guys. And if you're a Locust Fork player and you're obviously going to rally behind your teammate, Billy Adams is a fantastic coach. They still got a lot of pride, and there's still a lot of really good football players there. What do you expect out of this game right here?
You know, great question. Just from a coaching end of things, they still have a lot of players. All right, and obviously Dino Embry is one of your top guys in 3A, just a magical player, and everybody loved to see him play. But what you have to do as a coach, you have to bring everybody in, and you either cite examples or you just talk about, hey, you know, he is now here with us in spirit. He's here with us. He's supporting us. He's still our leader. But we're going to find other ways. We're going to re-evolve as a team. And we're winners. We're used to winning. That's who we are. We've still, in other aspects of the game, we have been successful. Now, let's find a way to keep this thing going. We're not going to lay down. First time we hit adversity, we're not going to lay down. Billy Adams, big fan, but that's his challenge right now. Let's see what he does.
That's right. And I think, matter of fact, I know he can get it done. And it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be one of those situations, and I tell you this to coaches all the time, when you lose or have somebody graduate that's a dog, right? Or you may lose multiple. That's when you earn your money, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
When the chips are down and everybody's like, okay, let's push them aside, let's don't think about them, and you go out there and you still beat people. The greatest example I can give anybody is last year. I said this going into the season about, and I know this is girls basketball we're talking about, but you guys will know from the regional play. You know, Callie Smallwood had graduated from Susan Moore.
Yep.
And she went on, she went to Montevallo, and then UAB, seeing how good she was, picked her up. They graduated several other players. Plainview had steadily been getting better and better and better. Well, they're going to meet. Mm-hmm. Well, they meet at regionals. And Plainview gets out of there by the skin of their teeth. And Laney Smallwood sat down in foul trouble because that was going to get unbelievably dicey down the. But my point to that is the great coaches like a Natasha Smallwood is going to make you sweat, even though the quote-unquote chips are down or so-and-so graduated. That's when you earn your money, and this is a great example of what you just said.
Yeah, no doubt. But that game gets even more intriguing because, like I said, Weaver had a controlling 36-6 lead at halftime. They ended up winning the ball game 44-20 last week against Glencoe. They're a team that's getting better. They're a team that's had some games that's been close. So Hatchie was a shootout.
Starting to see a little bit of that Weaver we thought we was going to see.
Yeah, like the team that we thought we were going to see. It's taken them a while to get there, but like Caden Gooden ran for 140 yards, 4 touchdowns, added 70 passing yards, had 5 tackles defensively. He's a guy that's a helmet sticker nominee because he showed up in a big time when their team desperately needed a win. But that game got a whole lot more interesting because Weaver's moving in the right direction, starting to play well. But I can go ahead and tell you this, there's a lot of great players on this Locust Fork team. And they're going to hear people all week say, what can they do without Dino? What can they do without Dino? There's going to be some guys that play with a chip on their shoulder, and I'm intrigued by this matchup. Like I said, there's no off weeks in that tough 3A Region 6.
That's exactly right. Keeping it right here with you, let's talk about a team that I'm telling you.
Nobody's talking about him.
Exactly, but I'm telling you.
Coach Jeff Smith's going to be mad when we talk about him.
He's going to get mad when we talk about him, but it's our jobs to talk about him. We're talking about the undefeated Walter Welborn team right here that is absolutely taking care of business. I don't know if you can take care of business quietly, but they're doing it.
Yeah, they've taken care of business quietly.
They're going to the Creek Bank now. So
they go into the Creek Bank. It's a tough place to play. We know that Ohatchee can score points. Correct. We know that. But Jackson Newton and company, they look to take care of business. They've been playing well all year. I don't know if they've really had a close ball game all year. They went on the road, beat a really good J.B. Pennington team, but they do have some matchups remaining on their schedule. Ohatchee this week, they got Locust Fort in a couple of weeks, Piedmont and Westbrook. They close out their year with Piedmont and Westbrook. So they have some remaining matchups that are going to be very, very difficult on their schedule. But Jackson Newton's has taken care of business all year long, and they've got other players that are playing well. And so I look for Wellborn to keep getting better. They're another team that Coach Jeff Smith's never going to take that foot off the gas, and they're going to continue to improve week in and week out. And so I think that as they continue to improve, I look for them to have a really good year the rest of the way. And listen, y'all, that Wellborn Piedmont game could be two undefeated teams if both of them take care of business up to that point.
Sneaky Wellborn.
That could
Here
be.
we go.
That could be a really good ball game.
Just like Coach Smith likes it.
Hey,
He likes it. People are not talking about them.
they don't want
I can go ahead
nobody
and tell
talking
you
about
that.
them. Let's jump up to 6A. Let's knock out 6A right here. You guys ready? Get your notes ready. All right, let's jump up to 6A right here. All right, here we go. Coach Beckett, you ready for this one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My man, Coach Stewart and Company, Southside Gadsden. I'm not calling them Southside of Gadsden. We're going to call them Southside because we
hear
grew
you.
up in this area. Southside sitting here at 3-3 on the year, has had a phenomenal season so far considering who they've lost. They've had a gut-wrenching loss to Fort Payne by 1 in a game that they, all intents and purposes, should have won. But to be sitting here at 500, got another region win last week versus Mae Jemison. They're taking on Buckhorn. They're favorites, almost double digits favorites in this one. Talk to me about this game right here, and it's hosted at the Jungle at Southside.
Yes, sir. And coming along, here comes Southside getting a little bit better. Watched a little bit of practice today. Proud that group didn't quit. They kept battling, and man, they had a lot of people to replace. Outscored opponents now 138 to 117. Obviously, last week a 27-6 win over Mae Jemison. Man, this is a game that definitely with a chance to win. And here they are sneaking in the playoff picture with Buckhorn coming up.
That's right. All right, next one right here with you again, Coach Beckett. The Gadsden City Titans quietly having another great season, sitting here at 5-1. This one's tightened up a little bit. This line, if they'd have played this one earlier in the year, this line would have been a lot larger than it's looking right here. It's a 2-point line. They got to go on the road and take on Coach Elmore and Fort Payne. You're looking at a 5-1 team versus a 4-2 team. Fort Payne has seemed to put that thing together after the 0-2 start. Talk to me about this one.
Yeah, we were real concerned about Fort Payne. It wasn't, I was there singing the praises early on, and then we started going, oh man, I don't know. Let's look at them. So Fort Payne is now 4-2 after the 2 losses. One last week, 42-7, which I texted Coach back and forth today. I'm going, you didn't have but 44 plays, and you scored all these points, and you had all these first downs. And he said it was an odd game, and they had some takeaways and some prolific runs, and then kickoff returns. But anyway, tied for first, sitting there 3-0. Outscored opponents 146-86. Sign of a really good coach. Didn't panic. Just kept coaching them up. There they are, and you won't find anybody any better coached. We talked Gadsden City, well-coached team as well. T.J. Worthy at running back. 7 carries, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns. Caught the ball, starting to throw the ball to him, which they've always kind of wanted to. He had 3 catches, 38 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. Makes him a helmet sticker nominee. Kai Franklin, my man, 7 of 9 for 157 yards. Great game manager. IQ out the roof. And there's Alex Swafford. Man, he's getting out of his dad's shot. His dad played at Troy, was a superstar, 4 catches, 131 yards.
Superstar at the state championship team for Gadsden High.
High school superstar, man. Yeah. Alex said, hey, man, just hold my bottle of water right here. Let me do this. And bottle of water, fellas. And so, hey, we're looking for a goodie. I think now we thought this was a gimme. Early in the years, and I do not think it was. If you remember last year, now it was that high score in the 60s to 40s. Nobody could stop each other, and that'll be interesting to see what happens.
This next one, I want you to break down for us right here. We're talking about Shades Valley. is traveling over to Pell City. Shades Valley got Kendrick Cook on the staff there. We all almost lost our lives hanging out with Kendrick Cook in Montgomery. Y'all remember that? Long story. Nothing Kendrick Cook did. It's just something happened when we were renting a house down in Montgomery.
My man, Kendrick.
But yeah, it was real interesting. We can talk about that off air sometime. But talk to us about this game. It's a 1-point line. They're traveling over to Pell City. Should be an interesting football game.
I know. I was looking at social media today, and Pell City put up a post, and they say it's do or die time. Like this is got to win. Pell City's got games left on their schedule that they can definitely win, but if they want to get into the playoffs or have an opportunity, they've got to win this game against Shades Valley. This is the game that both teams are going to be fighting for that playoff spot in that region, that last playoff spot. Because, I mean, in that region, you've got Oxford, you've got Mountain Brook, and you've got Clay Chalkville. There's one spot. I mean, you got three of the best teams in the state. Oxford beat Clay Chalkville by a point. I mean, Oxford beat Mountain Brook by a point. Clay Chalkville beat Mountain Brook by a touchdown last week. And then Oxford and Clay Chalkville match up in a couple after this week. Oxford's on a bye week, and then they play Clay Chalkville in a huge ball game there. But so there's one playoff spot remaining for Pinson Valley, for Shades Valley, for Pell City or Huffman. It's not going to be Huffman. They're still struggling. But Shades Valley, Pinson Valley, and Pell City are going to have to play it out for that spot. Can Pell City get a big win? I think they lost to Shades Valley narrowly last year. Can they come back? They're getting better. Like that game last week against Oxford, 27-0. I think it was a 7-0 ball game at half. So they're really starting to compete. Defense is playing well. Their defense is going to keep them in ball games. And surprisingly, Pell City is actually favored at -1.
You know what's unique about that game right there is that region's so top heavy. It's not that these are bad football teams. It's just that region is loaded.
Yeah,
to
I
the
mean,
gills
but
up top.
you talk about 6A Region 6, you talk about 3A Region 6, you talk about 4A Region 6. All three of those regions have great football teams in it. And then in 5A, we cover two of the best regions as well. We cover that region with Moody and Leeds and all them in it, Jacksonville, and then we have the 5A region with Scottsboro, Gunnersville, Arab, Boaz. I mean, like
loaded.
the Douglas. Like you look at these teams, I mean, we cover some really good regions that are really have really good football teams in
that
them.
region up there with Arab and Scottsboro, and they're going to leave out a couple of teams that should be playoff teams in any other region in the state.
The bad thing, and the thing about that region too, is some of those teams will punch you in the mouth.
Oh, ain't no doubt about it.
It is old school football.
100%. Let's jump over into 4A. We got about 4 or 3.5 minutes. Let's knock a couple of these out, and then we're going to take a commercial break. Let's start right here with Alexandria and Asheville. Chandler, kick us off on this right here. Alexandria coming off a monumental, I almost call it a monumental win, but it was a very big win.
Dude.
At Death Valley last week over Hoax Bluff, but they're a 26-point favorite versus this Asheville team.
Unbelievable. They were down 27-14. We had kept up with the game the entire time, and then all of a sudden they they score, get the onside kick, score again. Had some players make plays. We obviously know about Elijah Hunter. He's been a helmet sticker guy. They've got more guys that could be nominees for helmet stickers tonight. And look, Todd Ginn is getting that thing back rolling. You know, I think people have quickly forgot that this is a 1-9 football team last year.
That's right.
1-9, and now. After that, they are 3-1 in the region. Like they are tied for second in the region right now. And so Alexandria's, I think a couple of weeks ago we were like, man, this is going to be a good ball game. And then Asheville's kind of went in opposite direction from where they were at one time. Asheville beat Aniana pretty bad, but I think we're starting to realize that could have been more Aniana and not Asheville.
That's right.
And so they're kind of going opposite directions. Alexandria's going up, Asheville's going down. Asheville's got to figure out something to stop the bleeding, but having to go into Death Valley and try to beat an Alexandria team that's riding high right now, that's 4-2 on the year, 3-1 in the region, it's going to be super, super difficult for Asheville to do. I think just too much momentum going right now for Alexandria.
Beckett, we got about 2 minutes here. Huge game right here. at the Woodshed. Cherokee County's coming to visit Hoax Bluff.
Man, how about that one? And that one, being from those parts, that is a biggie as you kind of share ball play. People, a lot of people know each other. But anyway, Cherokee County, big win, man. That was back and forth. Now, is that a sign Anniston is coming back and being who we thought they were, or is that a sign of Cherokee County just finding a way, getting it done? Some nights they they had 214 yards rushing. Wasn't that monster night? Ty Diamond does what he does. 19 carries, 167 yards, 1 touchdown for a helmet sticker nominee. Found a way to get it done. Pretty biggie, Hoax Bluff. Let's look at them. I think it starts with defense. Colton Shields, 12 tackles, 2 sacks. Connor Ford, 10 stops. Drew McCarver, 7 and a pick. 7 tackles and a pick. Caden Howard, a sack and a fumble recovery. Man, they're really strong. They're going to play defense, and they're going to run the football. Now, Hoax Bluff hadn't been able to play with them in a while. And they're home, guys.
The Woodshed.
Is this gonna be a game?
I think it's going to be a football game. And
I think it's going to be a football game. Anniston has not scored a point now in 8 quarters. Got down inside the 2 and was stopped on 4th down against Cherokee County. We know Cherokee County's defense is really good. Anniston calls some turnovers defensively. Defense is playing really well. But Etowah is absolutely moving and trending in the right direction right now. I know that they're 2-4, and that sounds crazy. Also, if you would have told me that both of these teams were going to be 2-4 coming into this matchup, I would have told you were absolutely crazy. 3 or 4 weeks ago, if you'd have told me that this was going to be a marquee matchup this week, I would have told you were crazy. But Anniston's got to figure out who their dude is. Right now, they're playing a 2-quarterback system. The Pope kid and the other kid that moved in, and when there's an old cliche saying. And
I know where you're going. If you got 2 of them,
you don't have one. I don't think that's necessarily the case here, but I think they do need to find a guy that they can kind of ride behind. Like, here's the thing I've always, and there's a bunch of coaches that's always won with flipping quarterbacks and stuff like that, but the quarterback is supposed to be the leader of your football team. And especially your offense. And so if nobody knows who that leader is and you continue to have to swap back and forth, your quarterback's got to be an alpha dude. Like, he's got to be a guy that says, all right, guys, when it's 4th quarter, down by 7, we got to go 80 yards to score. He's got to be the guy that's got to put them on his back and able to go and say, hey, we're about to go score a touchdown. But defensively, that's the problem is you give up 14 points to a really good Cherokee County team at Cherokee County, and you can't get points, and you don't even give yourself an opportunity to win. That's discouraging.
Let's go to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
May not believe it, but it's true. The 2024 Team 1 Chevys are here. All 23-24 Silverado light duties have 2.9% financing for 72 months. The hottest new 24 Team 1 Chevy Blazer, 1.9% financing and no payments till April. And the #1 selling family vehicle, the Equinox, 24 models. You got it. 1.9% financing and no payments till April. Team 1 Chevrolet, home of the best people, the best service, period.
At Southern States Bank, we pride ourselves on being your bank. We're your neighbors and involved in the community. We're the bank featuring the Southern Rewards checking account, a cashback account with no ATM fees. We are on the cutting edge and always have a smiling face to help you out. So come to Southern States Bank, where we are committed to great service and being a great neighbor. Let us be the bank for you and your business.
At DVP Auto Group, we have a wide selection of any type of car you could want. We offer financing for all types of credit. Not only can we help you to purchase a car affordably, but we can help you with any issues you may experience with your car as well. We provide oil change, tire repair, brake service, or anything else you may need. We also gladly accept trade-ins, and if you're willing, we can help you drive away in a new car the same day. If you don't see something you like in the lot, we'll help you find one, whether you buy from us or not. Come see us today.
The Point at JSU is an off-campus student housing property located a half a mile away from Jacksonville State University. The Point offers fully furnished, pet-friendly 2 bedrooms and 4 bedroom units. Resident experience is our number one priority. Therefore, we do offer the following amenities: a resort-style pool, fitness center, basketball and volleyball court, and dog park. We would love for you to come see our property, so give us a call at 256-376-8317 to schedule a tour today.
All right, guys, we are back here. We actually have Coach Beckett got a little tidbit here for the Etowah Blue Devils.
Yeah, back half of that, I do think that they are improved. There he is. Jameson Sism had 149 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, had 202 passing, so he's a helmet sticker nominee. Talked to Coach this week. Feels like they're improving. They're still blocking and tackling, they're trying to get better with them. They're still in the playoff race, so still a big game.
They've done some little bit different shuffling over there on the offensive side of the football, and I think it's definitely helped out the last few weeks. I believe he's had 3 consecutive weeks of over 400 yards of offense, or right at 400 yards of offense. Jameson Sism. That's a recipe for success when you're stars like that.
And you're getting to know your kids.
Back to you, Mr. Tyree. A school you're very, very familiar with, the White Plains. It's 3-3.
White Plains is 3-3.
Battling injuries.
And definitely got a chance to have a chance. They're hosting this week. Got a chance to beat Aniana and win 3 in a row. And you would have to go back a long time to know when they've won 3 in a row. Quarterback Crew Martin really stepped up this past week and rushed for 174 yards. And that comes with Artie, the starting running back, out. Rodney Perry, who was a helmet sticker for us a few weeks ago, out for a majority of the game with banged up and hurting. And so they're a team that is really battling injuries, but has showed a lot of guts and toughness to win 2 games in a row with 6-7 starters out. And we're talking about starters such as P.J. Holloway, who was an absolute guy for them, and Dalton Luker, who was one of their best defensive players and played a little bit of offense as well. We're talking about having some big-time injuries. Just a testament to Coach Jennings and his staff for having them ready. Like I said, they've got a chance to be over 500 after week 7, and I don't know when the last time that has happened. And so
pretty impressive.
3-3. Like I said, got a chance to win 3 in a row. And Aniana, we know they're struggling, even though Aniana is actually favored in this ball game, which kind of shocked me a little bit.
Well, that is wild. But they do it by computer system, so the computer knows more than we do. So
I don't know about that.
Let's kick this thing over to 1A right here. Beckett, why don't you talk to me about this one if you don't mind, sir?
Okay.
Let's talk about Raglan and Appalachian. 5-2 Appalachian there. Hey, look. They had a tough one last week versus Spring Garden. We knew it was going to be tough for them. Spring Garden got the best of them in a really physical game. They're a 4-point favorite over Raglan right here, but they're hosting at Appalachian, who has the greatest crown in high school football history.
And it's kind of in a bowl. Just what a neat. Isn't that a neat thing now, guys, to go into these different high school venues? I really enjoy it. I know a couple guys that have been to most of them in the state. Anyway, Appalachian, hey, okay, they didn't win. Spring Gardens, they're beating a lot of people, but got a chance to host, okay? Sitting there with a 5-2 record, 2-1 in the region. Got a chance, be a big game with Valley Head at the end of the year, but they're still in play for hosting a home playoff game, which gives you a chance to advance, which is always huge. Outscored opponents 213-144, really physical team up front. You're sitting there with Raglan, man, what a monster win last week against Valley Head. Surprised me now. That's going to be one I didn't see coming. And, we've talked about some of the things they were facing, losing some players. Hey, man, that's almost a team helmet sticker nominee right there for Raglan and what they did, 20-7 win.
I asked Raglan, I talked to Coach Tidwell, and I was like, Coach, how did you rally the troops after all the nonsense that went on in the offseason, all the rumors that were circulating, losing some kids? How do y'all have guys playing this well right now? Because I'm not going to lie to you, and this is sad to say, and I apologize, but when that score came through the other night, I thought that somebody had misprinted it. When I saw that score and it said 20-7, knowing how Valley Head had been playing and knowing that they rode into that game at 5-1 and their only loss was to a really, really good Spring Garden team. When somebody told me that they won 20-7, that absolutely shocked me.
Hey, look at him. Three wins in a row. Once they got their new roster and try to kind of settled in, here they are in the playoff picture. Man, that is a, not that we do a coach of the year, but that cat's got to be somebody's coach of the year.
Well, that line is only 4 as well, so there's other people noticing the good work that they're doing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Spring Garden. Now, this is a little different task right here for Spring Garden. This is a inter-county rivalry game. It's also, you're going up against a coach without question who has the greatest hair in the state of Alabama, and Brian Knapp. And he also has a very good running back and a tough physical football team. And then it's a little bit of, I know Ragsdale hates this, but I'm about to tell it to him anyways. A little bit of that rat poison going on for them because everybody's patting them on the back now. Y'all have arrived. Y'all are the old Spring Garden. Talk to the challenges he has coming into this game.
Well, yeah, and winning presents its own set of problems because you have that uncle comes out of the woodwork that hadn't been coming to games.
That uncle,
losing, but he's there. And what does he tell you? He's telling you how great you are. Worry about you. Do your own thing.
That's
Listen,
right.
I've seen the before and afters when you get a program.
That's awesome.
And hey, the good thing
that
is
uncle.
The Panthers are getting it done. They're marching at 7-0. Big win last week. And there again, they've got to find a way to continue to improve. They've always done that. Jason Howard always did a marvelous job there. Brian Knapp gets more out of his teams than anybody makes. I think he is a college-level coach. My boy Alex Beatty's on there, and he's been getting 200 every week. May not happen this week, but he's going up against a really, really good team. And Gelsville's fighting to get in for that 4 spot. They need, of these last 3 games, talked to Coach Knapp today, they need to win 2 of them. So,
how impressed are you with Ragsdale from last year to this year, how much more comfortable, how much more fluid they look? I mean, talk about it just from a perspective. You've been a coach. You've been on both sides. You've won regions.
And
talk about the job he's doing.
And that's my home county. In his last couple of years, Coach Howard was doing a good job, and he was starting to get him ready for it, in that he was turning more and more over on it to him, and weight room and this and that, and which was really good out of Coach Howard too. I didn't think he was going to give it up, but he actually did give it up, and he really was. His intentions were right, and that was Coach Ragsdale's a really hard-working guy, and I'll be honest with you, I had people say, nah, they won't be the same. They won't be the same with Jason Howard gone, and them playing in Jason Howard Stadium. Well, guess what? Spring Garden is continuing to be the same Spring Garden, and he's continued that same level of football. Hats off to him.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Hey, you talking about Galesville, though? You said they got to win 2 out of the last 3. They got Spring Garden. Obviously, we just talked about that one. They got Ragland and Woodville. That seemed like it was going to be an easy task early in the year.
Yeah.
But the way Ragland's playing, that's not as easy of a task.
That's kind of what Coach Knapp was saying. He goes, all right, gonna be tough down the stretch.
That's how you like it, though. You want to earn something.
All right, I'm going to kick it right back here to you, and we're going to talk about another really good friend of the show here, Winterboro and Coach Mansfield, who's 5-1 on the year. They're going to be taking on Woodland, who's 1-5 on the year. Winterboro's quietly having a really good football season right here. They're 5-1. Coach Mansfield is no stranger to good football teams, and his team performing real good. Talk to us a little bit about this when they're also a 13-point favorite, but they are going on the road right here.
Yeah, so they finally got some stats on them and we hadn't covered a whole lot of that area, but wanted to really 5-1 on the year, playing really well. Their quarterback, Cole, was 11 of 17 for 243 yards and 3 touchdowns last game. Rushing, they rushed the ball for well over 100 yards, rushed for 144 yards. And this was a game coming in that we thought was going to be a really tough ball game for them. We did not know that they were going to be able to just run through Victory Christian the way that they did. And so when you look at them, they're 5-1 going up against a 1-5 Woodland team. The 13-point spread is a little bit head-scratching, but we know that Woodland looked really good a couple of weeks ago against a much-improved, really good Pleasant Valley team. So this game could be closer. but Winterboro, with the athletes that they have and the way they've been playing, they could pull away with it. So I'm intrigued to see.
And he's kind of in a rat poison game now. You just got to make sure with your kids, you just keeping on doing what you're doing a tremendous job. And there they are. There's a sleeper coming on.
Who has the patent on the rat poison? I know Saban come up with it, but
I don't know who
we need
has
to
the-
start getting a rat poison pack. This is our rat poison team of the week.
Rat
and just kind of
poison
set
game
it
of
up
the
here.
week. Yeah. I like it.
Do you
I
agree?
like it.
I agree. I don't think if he.
Oh, by the way,
I don't think
huge
he-
announcement. About to break it right now. I can't hold it in no longer. Our helmet stickers will be here Thursday.
Yeah.
I thought you was about to tell everybody that Average Joe's Sports Talk had over 40,000 followers on Facebook now.
I didn't want to. I'm just joking about that. Joking about
4-0.
that.
That's like one of those.
Yeah, we do have
Chamberlain
40,000.
moments.
That is
Wow.
not the Wilt Chamberlain like Beckett just said, and nobody Google that.
That's,
But we have crossed over the 40,000. We would like to thank each
That's
and every
awesome
one of you
about
guys.
the helmet stickers. That's
yes,
gonna be cool.
and you guys who've won helmet stickers, you will be getting.
We
your
coming
helmet
for you.
stickers. We're gonna deliver these helmet stickers to you guys. All right. So now, right here, Valley Head. We talked about Valley Head earlier. They're a 20-point favorite in this one right here. I think both of you guys can touch on this one a little bit. They're taking on Woolville. I learned that's how you pronounce it.
Buckethead laughs every
I
Friday
do.
night when I
When you
call
say
him Louisville
Louisville.
now. Yeah.
Becky,
said
you want
that's
to kick
what-
us off with this one?
Yeah, there you are. Again, surprised. Coach's got. I did talk to him going into last week's game, and he had focused so hard, and he said, "I really don't know at this point a whole lot about Ragland, where he knew so much about some of those other teams. I guess he kind of does now. They had 40. They didn't have a 41 plays, 194 yards, all rushing. Blevins 52, Bain 82, Johnson 40. McElrath went backwards, so it was not, it had 34 rushes, 157 yards, 7 passes, 37 yards. That's not the numbers they had been having. They've got to steamroll offensively. Need these wins. They're still in play to host and we did have extremely high expectations out of them. They need to have a good showing as we go forward.
All right, let's see. Can I borrow that pen for just a second? All right, let's kick this thing over. Let's go down here to 2A, and then we're going to work our way back to 5 before we close this thing out with our helmet stickers. But let's go over to 2A if you guys got to get your notes ready or anything like that. We're going to start off with you, Coach Beckett. You ready for this one? We're
Yes,
going to
sir.
talk West End, Walnut Grove right here, who's actually a 9-point favorite this week, and they desperately need a win right here. And they're traveling up to Ider to take on Coach Grant, who also desperately needs a win right here. When you look at this football game, tell me what you see.
All right, West End, there again, your goal is to continue to, you want to improve, you want to lay a foundation year. Jackson Hamby's had a really good year, 14 of 24 passing, 210 yards. Jackson Mayo had 11 catches, 198 yards. Those are good numbers. It was a much closer game, and they just want to continue that trend. Again, defensively, need to tackle well, need to get stops, need to get off the field.
Let's go Gaston and Pleasant Valley, and each one of you guys can touch on this. Beckett, you can touch on it from the Gaston standpoint. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, big win last week for Gaston. They had 5 interceptions. Cody Bogle had 2 of them. Had a pick 6.
Was he a 3-time state javelin champion?
3-time state javelin champion. Really nice.
Shout out.
His dad coaches it, does a really, really good job. Devin Green, Trey Johnson, Maddox Eagley had an interception. Keller Skaggs, here's a helmet sticker nominee, rushed for 205 yards, 3 touchdowns on 11 carries. Nate Oliver had 3 carries. Had carried the ball 13 times for 78 yards. Tommy Johnson had 67. Noah Cohen, 26. Getting some of their names out there. Thought they did really good. Puts them back in the picture. Really must wins as they go out. Big win for Derek Sewell and company.
They're traveling to Pleasant Valley right here. Coach Nix has them sitting at 5-2 in the year. I think Coach Nix would take a 5-2. If you told him at 7 games in he could be 5-2, I think he'd take it.
Yeah, the last 2 ball games, they've made them a lot more difficult than what they needed to be, but they found ways to win, and that's what Coach Nix talked about. Just continue to find ways to win. Good teams find ways to win. Jaden Sparks has really stepped in at quarterback and played well. He accounted for 200 total yards against Cedar Bluff last week. He hit 7 of his 15 passes for 150 yards. Hunter Sparks, Hudson Sparks had both had a touchdown catch. And then Caden Vick rushed for 60 yards. Defensively, Nick Acker had 12 tackles. Noah Johnson had 10. Braxton Salster had 9. And John Hanson had 7. So Pleasant Valley is a team that just continues to find ways to win football games. And 5-2 on the year. And got a real good chance to still host that second to get that second playoff spot and host a playoff game.
Absolutely. Man, Coach Nick has got to be ecstatic about that. He has to be. Beckett, I want you to talk about this right here. We're talking about the Coosa Christian Conquerors, who has been on an absolute mission since they arrived back in town from Georgia and that Pierce County game. Once they've taken on competition from here in Alabama, they have been unbelievably dominant. They're looking to host Cold Springs right here. Cold Springs is 4-3 on the year, but Cold Springs hasn't seen something like what Coosa Christian puts on the field, I'm sure.
Defensive stat jumps out. They only gave up 2 first downs last week, gave up 30 carries for 2 yards. This last week versus Cleveland, gave up
30 carries for 2 yards.
4 of 8 for 18 yards for total of 20 yards offense out of Cleveland. Cleveland was 2 of 12 on third down, 0 of 2 on fourth down.
Pause for 1 second. So they gave up 38 yards the week before and 20 this week?
20 this week.
So in 2 weeks, they've gave up 58 yards of total offense?
Yeah, and you just got to stop and go, what? These are crazy numbers. Turnovers, the giveaway, takeaway has been amazing. Took away 2. Cleto Bryant, here he is again, 10 tackles, 4 for a loss. Cade Mickler had 7 stops, followed by Halen Palmer with 6. DJ Mackey with 6. And the balls, John David Justice, 4 of 10. Great game manager. He can carry it, but he's just making sure he puts them in a good place. 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and both were to Johnson. So another taking care of business for Coosa Christian.
Let's see here. Let's kick this thing back over to you right here, Mr. Chandler Tyree. We're talking about one of the top-ranked teams in all of 2A right here, another top-ranked team in Pisgah, and they will be hosting Cedar Bluff. This is going to be a tall task for Cedar Bluff to go into Pisgah right now, the way they're playing football.
Yeah, I mean, Pisgah's undefeated on the year. Got a really big win over Fife earlier in the year. They're a team that's hitting on all cylinders. We've talked about Luke Gilbert already. We know that Coach Pruitt does a really good job there. And even had his wife chat into the show, the show last week. So we want to thank them for their support.
Again, we
got to
get her on the show.
No doubt about it. And but Pisgah, like Cedar Bluff's got a tall task. Now Cedar Bluff's 2-5. They're getting better as well. But we're talking about one of the best teams in Class 2A. We're talking about a team that's got a logistic chance to win 2A. And I'm not taking anything away from the other team. I know Highland Home's got a really good football team as well. But we're talking about a team that's playing really well right now. And anytime you got to go to their place and play, it's going to be a tough night for you, whether or not you get them at your place or theirs. But when you got to go to their home and play, it's going to be a tough night for Cedar Bluff.
Yeah, Cedar Bluff came close last week to Pleasant Valley. That was a tough loss. It would have put them in a good position, 2-5, 2-2 in the region. Going to have to really do well down the stretch to have a chance to make it the playoffs, and that's a program that.
Beckett, you've coached there. Talk about that community and how.
Well, you've got unbelievable. You've got state championships that go way back. You've got region championships that have that are forever. And you've got players that played in Alabama and Auburn. You had a 31-game winning streak in your history. Steve Smith got his start there and really did well. In the last, 10, 15 years, they've been the championship game twice. Those guys they're used to winning, and it's been a tough go. Went to you're dealing with one region championship in the last 5 or 6 years, and they go to the playoffs. So
are you being humble when you say that, or are you being boastful?
That's just what they do. They go to the playoffs.
You won that region championship, so you're just being humble with it.
Hunter Stallings, Katie and Tracy, Sam Payne, Caleb Edmondson, Byron Kinsey. Got some hardworking kids, and you just need some of those other guys to come on and really big Garrett Crane fan. Let's see what they do down the street.
Hey, I feel like that's
Will you sign my
I feel like that's just a cool place to take in a football game too.
Oh, it's a great.
Oh, no, it is that.
It's
I
a
can tell you
great,
that.
the wall behind, and you got a little of the history on there.
You got the shrubbery right there.
It's
Yeah, it's just that when you go by that place, it's just a cool.
and
I mean,
if you
it's
ever
just a neat
sit down
place.
with some of the old timers, it is some really. They've got some cool stories. They've won a lot of games.
Hey, Matt McKinney's from there. Todd Dean's from there. We're talking about absolute dogs. Love them cats. Both them guys. The Matt and Todd show. Well, locker room show now is what it's called. Sorry about that. It's not the Matt and Todd show anymore. They changed names on us.
Hey, if you're gonna give
love
somebody a
them
shout
cats.
out, make sure you get the name right.
Well, I grew up in the Matt and Todd era, you know. Locker room sports now. So, but all right. So,
They do a
section.
good job.
Section and North Sand. Interesting game here. Beckett, you're pretty close with Section. They're 1-6 on the year, traveling to North Sand. It's going to be a tall task for them to go into North Sand and win. It's a heavy underdog again this week.
Yeah, really close to North Sands. Buddy of mine is their defense coordinator, Coach Hall, and then Coach Edwards was my defense coordinator at Collinsville. So I
Got
really
ties on
think-
both sides.
Yeah, North Sand had a coaching change. I think they've and they were really worried about their youth. They've had a really good year, and they've got a chance to go into playoffs at a good mark. So big lead there again. They've got to stay focused and keep on keeping on. Their coaches say, "Hey man, we can't get. We're no gimmies with anybody." And Coach Edwards, all I would tell him is, anytime you take on a program that's in that kind of shape, is man, you just you keep getting those players better at blocking and tackling, and it'll come out the back end.
Absolutely. Susan Moore and Falkville. Falkville's a 14-point favorite in here. I've been to Falkville this season, watched a football game, love that place, really unique place. Susan Moore has to travel over there. They're a 14-point dog. Chandler, when you look at this football game, what do you see?
Well, the game that you went and saw Falkville play really wasn't fair. And so,
it was pouring rain.
And it was pouring rain. It was in the week. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the weekend that we had the hurricane.
That
stuff.
was absolutely right.
And they were playing a really, really good football team. And then Susan Moore is a team that started out kind of hot, and they've got some players. I mean, they've got helmet sticker winners on their team. And so Falkville's a 14-point favorite, but I think that this is a game that could go either way depending on how the ball bounces. It's one of those games that if Falkville don't play well, Susan Moore can definitely come in and win the football game. It's just when you get into games like this, man, you got to throw everything else out the window, play your best football, and give yourself a chance to win.
Yeah, and look here, this 2A, interesting. We got a lot of interesting matchups in 2A. The cream's starting to rise to the top in this 2A in our neck of the woods. You agree with that?
Oh,
No
big
doubt
time.
about it.
There's starting to be a little bit of a separation there. All right, we've got one more classification that we're going to break down. That's going to be 5A.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
When would Pisgah and Coosa Christian have to play each other in the playoffs?
Tuscaloosa Academy and Pisgah has to play first, and if I'm not mistaken, that would be round 4. So Tuscaloosa Academy, you're going to know a lot more. Let's talk about this, and then we may go to break after we talk about this.
We're a little ahead of schedule tonight.
Yeah, we're ahead of schedule, and what I was going to do is get through all of our stuff and then do a little breakdown afterwards, and we still will do that. But interesting matchup that they scheduled Tuscaloosa Academy, that being Coosa, because anybody who had a pulse knew Tuscaloosa Academy is going to be one of the front runners for 2A North.
Yeah.
And for Coosa to schedule them regular season, you would say it's risky, but I don't think it's really risky when you go to Pierce County and you go to Gatlinburg and you play Pell City and you play Fife non-region. It's not that risky. It may be risky from a standpoint of them being able to cut a tape on you and see you in person. They're not going to show stuff. How much are you going to show? But the cross, the way, if I'm not mistaken, Pisgah and Tuscaloosa Academy, one of those two would have to eliminate the other. In other words, if Coosa continues to win, they won't have to beat both of them.
I will say this: the game that Tuscaloosa Academy played against Vincent this past week was a lot closer than what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I know they're undefeated on the year; they've played really well, but at this point, it's kind of difficult to see how good they really are because of who's on their schedule.
And I tell you what, I agree with you 100%. If you guys remember when Fife moved up to 3A and they won the state against Montgomery, Catholic Montgomery. The problem with them getting to the state that year was that was the year that 3A Region 6 ate each other alive. They all had one loss. You had Ohatchee, you had Wellborn, you had Piedmont.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Fife had to go beat Wellborn at Ohatchee and then Piedmont at home. And then Oatman, who got their quarterback back the week of the playoffs, who was, what's his name, son from Alabama.
Yeah.
They got him back for the playoffs, so they had to beat Oatman, who was unbelievable when they got their quarterback back. Then they had to beat Wellborn, then they had to beat Ohatchee, then they had to beat Piedmont. Oh, by the way, once we get there, Catholic Montgomery's waiting on you.
Yeah.
So Coosa does not have that same kind of scenario this year. And this is no disrespect for the other 2A teams in the North. It's just if it trends that way, then Coosa would not have to beat both of those two teams. But they do get to play Academy. I believe that's. Can you see if that's next week? It'll be week 10.
Yes, but they're off week 10, so it's the 25th is when they play Tuscaloosa Academy.
Okay, so it'll be.
I had already looked at that.
Okay, all right. So, well, guys, we are up against a break right here. I think we may go ahead and cut a break, and then when we come back, we're going to break down 5A, which has some huge games coming up, and then our helmet stickers, and we're going to close the show out with just some general talk.
May not believe it, but it's true. The 2024 Team 1 Chevys are here. All 23-24 Silverado light duties have 2.9% financing for 72 months. The hottest new 24 Team 1 Chevy Blazer, 1.9% financing and no payments till April. And the #1 selling family vehicle, the Equinox, 24 models. You got it. 1.9% financing and no payments till April. Team 1 Chevrolet, home of the best people, the best service, period.
Hey everybody, I'm Larry May. I've been in the entertainment business for over 25 years. I've written for the local paper. I've interviewed a lot of touring artists and local artists here. And what I figured out is how much talent we have here in Alabama. That's why we put a new show together for you called Entertainment Alabama. Come watch us for the hottest new acts and some of your favorites that are national touring artists.
Come out and check out the Alabama Tractor Difference. We can take care of all your needs of parts, sales, and service for RTVs, zero turns, and tractors and construction equipment. See us here in Lincoln at 620 Speedway Industrial Drive. Or come visit us here in Asheville at 275 6th Avenue, or give us a call at 205-594-7000.
At Bentley Prosthetic and Medical Supply, we care about you. We offer custom prosthetics, orthotics, diabetic shoes, and durable medical supplies. We're located here in Alexandria, Alabama, where it's a country feel but professional care. Come see us today.
All right, everybody, we are back from our commercial break, bringing up our last segment of the show right here. 5A North has been nothing short of spectacular this year. We got some teams in the South that we're going to talk about that we cover, like Central Clay County. We'll talk about them in just a minute, but there's some big matchups right here in 5A North, and we're going to start with Coach Beckett. He's a good friend of mine. I'm going to hand this thing off to Coach Beckett, and I want you to talk about Coach Sully and company. They're sitting here quietly at 4-2 on the season. They're a heavy favorite coming into this game. They're going to be hosting Brewer at that beautiful field they have up there. A lot of good things going on in Boaz, Alabama right now, football related.
All right, Pirates, let's take care of business down the stretch. Sully's had a big year. Offensively, they're doing a lot of really good things. Man, it starts with, Childress. 752 yards with through the ball 105 times. Doing a really good job. I think they are receiving, they're passing, Hudgens 29 catch, Sullivan 11, Alexander 10, Kelly 8. I'm assuming that is his son, that Sullivan.
Who is that, Sullivan?
Yes.
Yeah, that is his son.
So a lot of catches,
Sullivan.
yes. You're sitting there with 71 catches, the ball's going around, scoring a lot of points. So, the loss to Geraldine was non-region, so it didn't affect them in region play. So let's take care of business and let's beat Brewer, put up a lot of points, and do what you do. Be really focused on these games down the stretch.
Central Clay County, and I'm gonna kick this one over to you, Chandler. When you're looking at Central Clay County right here, not hardly any chinks in the armor. You got a new refocused Danny Horn, who is now the all-time winningest coach in the state of Alabama history. They're a 30-point favorite. They're at home. Talk to us about this Central Clay County team.
Well, I mean, last year we felt really good about them. Last year they were a really good football team. And if I'm not mistaken, they got beat by the eventual state champions last year.
No, they got beat in a game. That's what woke Danny Horn up. They got upset because they lost their first team running back and their second team.
Boyd was out. LaDamian Boyd's been healthy.
And then his
the
backup
Gibbons
was
kid's
out.
been playing really well for them.
And they got beat by Terry Curtis, which is what woke him back up.
You're exactly right. And I think quarterback play has been better for them this year, which has been a huge deal for them. And so Danny Horn, like you said, rejuvenated. I mean, everybody keeps thinking he's going to retire, but the more and more it keeps looking like he's got at least 5 more years left in him.
That's right.
Chase Horn does an outstanding job for him calling plays now, but it's like you bring up every week. Anytime it fails, they got on their
right.
Waffle House menu, they've got their little bitty. They've got the All-Star Special right here, and that's going to be the wishbone.
The bone, baby.
The bone, baby.
That's it.
And anytime anything fails, they go back to the bone. And I don't look for them to slow down. I think, we cover some of the best teams in 5A. I mean, you just look at this paper, and I'm not trying to, but Central Clay County, Moody, Leeds, Scottsboro, Gunnersville, Boaz, like Arab. Arab's off this week, so we're not even talking about them. But just look at the teams that we cover in 5A, and there's 5 of them that's got a chance to make a run to Birmingham, be able to play for a state championship.
It's unbelievable. And look, you don't want to play Boaz in the playoffs.
No, because they're going to put up points. We saw it last year.
Yeah.
Southside
They won
the region, went to Southside in round number 1 and won the ball game.
That's right. You don't want to play them if they're the 4th seed, the 3rd seed, because they have a very good coach. They have very good players, and they've proven it don't matter who they play in the first round of the playoffs. You don't want to play Boaz. No. All right. So then in that same region, you have Scottsboro there with 1 loss. You have the number 1 team in the state in Gunnersville right there. You have Arab, who was beating the number 1 team in the state with 50 seconds to go at their place in Arab.
Yeah.
All these teams are in that same region right there. Douglas, in most regions, would be a 2 or 3 seed.
Yeah.
In most regions.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
I mean, this is a region that not to be messed with.
Somebody
right
made
here.
the comment that, and I don't want to call any names, but I think his first name is Scott and his last name's Tyree, that Douglas isn't who everybody thought they were. I think they're still a really good football team. I just think they're in a very tough region.
They're in an extremely tough region. Beckett, I want you to break this one down right here, buddy. We're talking about a very huge football game here. A 6-1 Leeds traveling to a 4-2 Moody. Don't let the 4-2 fool you about Moody. Moody's actually pretty heavy favorites in this one right here, going to be hosting Leeds, but history tells us that this matchup right here has looked like this before, and Leeds has went in there and got victories before. Talk to us about this game a little bit.
Well, having coached as defense coordinator once upon a time at Moody, nice little rivalry. You got the overpass at I-20 kind of runs, and well, that's a little nasty rivalry. I had no idea about it. At that time, Leeds was doing really well. Coach Gross came in and kind of flipped that, but really nice players. Guy named Keith Etheridge right after that won a bunch of state championships, a whole bunch of them, and really, really good.
Who's that guy?
So, yeah, man. So it was
He's on fire right now, my friends.
You talk about neat stadiums. Leeds is kind of everything on one side. That one's a little different.
I hated playing there.
Yeah, I thought it was.
What about the Charles Barkley statue they have there at Leeds?
Yeah.
You do respect that, don't you?
Hey, you got to. So Moody, have seen them, really good, played really good people. We really feel like their ceiling's really high offensively. Defense was really good.
One of the best defensive fronts in the state.
Absolutely. We feel like that they're going places, but that's a rivalry. That's a nasty rivalry, and Leeds is kind of back. So that's when you kind of circle that one. If you're in the area, that's one of the games you want to go to.
Lincoln 0-6 on the years, traveling to Jacksonville. Coach Smith has his Golden Eagles 3-4. Heavy favorites in this one. Talk to us about that one. Jacksonville and Lincoln.
Thank you. Just look at some.
There's some of Coach Smith's out there.
Yeah,
Probably threw
Jacksonville. No, I was looking at something, trying to see what the comments were saying. I got sidetracked. You know, I can't do two things at once.
Gotcha, brother.
Jacksonville is in a must-win mode. They've been that way. They've got to win these next 3 ball games in order to have a chance to get in the playoffs. They started out last week and got a big win over Springville. They need to beat Lincoln, and then they have a big matchup coming up with St. Clair County, who's 2-4 right now. But we see what kind of team they can be. They lost 56-42 to a really good Leeds team last week, and so Jacksonville should be the heavy favorite. They've got 2 dogs at running back. Led by Zay English. Quarterback is starting to get more familiar with the game plan, starting to play better. And so I really think that Jacksonville is getting better at the right time. We're not used to Jacksonville being 3-4 at this point in the year, but you got to look at who they had to play in that. Like, you had to play a Moody team, a Leeds team. You had to play a center point team that was really good, and then a corner team that was ranked in Class 5A at the time that they played and was undefeated at the time that they played. And so when you look at that, Jacksonville's battle tested, and Lincoln, they're young, they're struggling, it would take an absolute miracle. But like I said, this past Saturday, we saw a lot of teams that weren't supposed to win. So anybody can win on any given night.
Beckett, 2 teams that you're familiar with right here. Springville is traveling over to St. Clair County, who we just mentioned just a second ago. St. Clair County is a 9-point favorite in this one. Springville 3-3 on the year. St. Clair 2-4, but St. Clair's 4 opponents they've lost to have been pretty good football teams.
Really good football teams. When you lose to your losses to Catholic and to Moody and to Center Point and to Leeds, a really good Leeds football team, which they were in. It was 56-42 game, and I think they're making strides. Win-loss, you're not 100% able to. I think it's a game that they can play with. Springville's played a little bit better than I thought they would, St. Clair's sitting here 0-3. They've got to win out.
Can you run over those losses again?
Yeah, I mean, look at it. Catholic 51-14 and Moody 47-0 and then Center Point 34-27 and then Leeds, a really good Leeds team 56-42. Really, really, really good people they played. But now they're playing Springville 3-3, Lincoln, Jacksonville, and Asheville. Not saying they'll win them all 4 or any combination thereof, but they will play with those 4 teams down the stretch. And so they've got to. They're a little battle tested going in, so I'm excited for those guys. It's a rivalry. Now Springville leads the series 33-25, but St. Clair, Springville won the last time 42-13 when they played last year.
Beckett, right here back with you. We got B.J. Brooks, who I got to eat breakfast with yesterday morning. Got to hang out, spend a little more time with him. Sat down, slowed things down, talked to me about, hey man, he's down. Listen to this, guys. He is down. First of all, he started the season with 10 new starters on offense. He's down 6 offensive linemen. Of the 10 starters he brought back, of the 10 starters he had to bring in, he's down 6 offensive linemen on top of that. He's literally got almost junior high guys taking snaps at offensive line now. But they're traveling to Douglas, who has been bitten by an injury bug as well, and a team we just talked about would be a 2nd or 3rd seed in a lot of 5A regions. It's not an inter-county rivalry, but Sardis is right there on that Marshall County line. These 2 teams know each other. These 2 coaches and communities know each other. Talk to us about this game right here.
There you go. There's your rivalry. You're 5 minutes apart. Everybody knows everybody. And Douglas is, I really think they're a fine team. Their losses have been to really good people. Scottsboro Boaz and Arab Hall, really good football teams. They're again region play. They're sitting there 0-3 though. They've got to do the games against Sardis and Brewer and down the stretch. They play Gunnersville, which is the number 1 team in the state, and they close with Geraldine. Well, as things have developed. Cason Walls, Keelan Green, Brody Campbell, those guys have got to take care of business for Sardis as they take on. For Douglas as they go up against their rival right down the road, Sardis. And then if you're BJ, like you said, you just kind of keep on and try to get this team as your job is to put the best product on the field. You know?
That's right. And he said it best, win little battles.
Win little battles.
Let's win as many little battles as we can, and hopefully that'll equal up to a big battle victory. And that's what his job is, and that's what he's been doing. And guys, we're going to close our coverage this week out of the biggest game. This is also the game we will be broadcasting. We got that official, correct? Mm-hmm. This is Scottsboro, who's 6-1, who's traveling to Guntersville, who's 6-0 in the year, number one team in the state. Scottsboro, to nobody's surprise, is sitting here at 6-1. And Coach Van, I knew when he got that job, this is why he took a job. It would be to coach in games like this. He's had several of these type games, and I talked about this on his show this week, which will be coming out very soon. He's been in these games with his Sylvania team the last couple of years, and looking across the field, you know, Coach Reese has been in these big games as well, and maybe not sitting here as number one in the state like they are right now, but this is a football game that's going to define both of these guys' seasons right here, so to speak. It has a lot to do with who's going to win this region. I want to kick this thing off. Your thoughts on this football game right now? It don't get any bigger than what we're about to see in this game.
Well, you know, Scottsboro comes into the game 6-1. They got a big win over Fort Payne, 31-6, and then at one point we thought, well, that wasn't as big of a win. Well, now we turn around and Fort Payne's 4-2.
Yep.
31-6, absolutely controlled the game. Beat North Jackson 14-6. Beat Boaz.
That's turned out to be a bigger win.
Yeah, like North Jackson's been really good as well. Boaz is 4-2. They beat them 42-35. Beat Douglas 45-13. Beat Sardis 45-7. Lost to a really, really good Central Clay County team 35-21, and then controlled Brewer last week 40-7. So 6-1 coming into the game, and I think they're relatively healthy. I think after the Central Clay County game, his Coach Van's mission was for them to force their will on people, to be the team that played physical, that took the game to the other team. And I think if they can do that with their style of play and with the athletes that they have, Edmondson had a really huge game for them this last week. We know about Jake Jones. Like, they've got some players, if they can play physical brand of football and impose their will on people, that was the word I was looking for earlier. If they can impose their will on people, they're going to be a team that's really hard to beat down the stretch. And I think they're really going to test a Guntersville team that no matter where you look at, they're number one or number two in the state in Class 5A on any given poll or power poll that you look at. And so Guntersville's been dominant. Guntersville's going to play a physical brand of football as well now. And so they're going to see in 2 weeks how much more physical they've gotten at Scottsboro and if they're up to the level that Coach Van wants them to play at.
And Guntersville loaded across the board. They have targets galore. They
got targets galore.
6'4",
and they've proven they can win games.
2 Division I running backs.
They've proven they can win games defensively. You know they're well coached. They're always going to do things the right way. They're not going to ever lose a football game by doing stupid stuff or shooting themselves in the foot. And you talked about it, man. Like, why would we not want to go to Scottsboro and why would we not want to go to Guntersville for this game with Scottsboro and Guntersville? It's going to be the biggest game that we have in Class 5A, one of the biggest games in the state with this team that we've built with Average Joe's. It's kind of out of our coverage zone a little bit at TV24, but why would we not cover one of the biggest games in our state this week? I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great ball game. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere, and we hope if you can't make it, you'll definitely tune in and watch it on WEAC TV24 and Average Joe's.
Beckett?
Well, I asked you two both, you know, what are your thoughts there on your spread? You know, Guntersville being an 11-point favorite, you know, and seeing that Arab took them to the wall, you know.
Yep.
What's your thoughts there? Obviously, it's a monster matchup.
My thoughts, I think Reese hates it, and I think Van loves it.
Yeah. He plays to that underdog.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Ain't no doubt. That's my honest thoughts on it.
Yeah, if you're the team that's favored, you hate it. If you're the team that's a double-digit dog, you love it because you have plenty of blackboard material this week. And
wouldn't you have that plastered in your locker room?
I have plastered everywhere.
There's been times we would sticker. You know, when kids, I would have the trainers and managers, and they would put stuff hanging like that of comments and stuff. So when the kids came off after a ball game, and went to their locker for the next week, there it is. So that's one of those bulletin board things that starts right away. You guys have seen them a little more. I just hadn't seen a lot. I know that Guntersville has a two-headed monster. They're kind of balanced. They do some really good things all the way around. Tell me how Scottsboro match up. What do they do well?
Well, Scottsboro's going to run the football. They've been able to impose their will on every single team they've played except Clay County. They were physical with them, and it was a 7-point game right there before the half, and it remained pretty close right throughout. Van wants them to impose their will on everybody, including Central Clare, whoever else. But it's like a pressure valve, in my opinion. When they lost that game, lets off that pressure, that undefeated season. Now let's go regroup. Now he's got some coaching moments. Now you're about to see a better football team than what went into that game. Jake Jones is without question one of the most dynamic football players in North Alabama. He can run it. He can throw it. He's the type guy that I can promise you Coach Reese and company's had him circled all week. They're a team that obviously wants to stay in front of the chains. They want to keep the ball, a la Coach Rob, play a little bit of keep away with Guntersville. Because you don't want Guntersville out there, and you don't want to get in a shootout with those guys.
Well, you've seen that recipe works too. Arab was able to do that. They were able to keep the ball from Guntersville. Sometimes your best defense is your offense holding on to the football. That time of possession is going to be a big storyline in this ball game. Can Scottsboro win the time of possession? But not only win it, can they capitalize on the opportunities that they have? If they can, they're going to be able to stay in the ball game and have an opportunity to win it in a matchup with two of the best teams in Class 5A. If they can't, then the Guntersville's got weapons everywhere.
Key matchup to me is this: if Scottsboro has a chink in the armor, is they're a little bit younger in the secondary, and Guntersville has these big, long-rangey receivers at 6'3", 6'4". We're talking about guys that can go get it. We got basketball guys out there catching balls. We've got, you just watch out for the numbers 18, watch out for number 9. Watch out for number 2. And then you got 2 Division I running backs in the backfield as well for Guntersville. So the key is, can Guntersville give them time to get the ball out to those receivers, and how well Scottsboro tackles out in space is the key to the game, in my opinion.
Okay, are we looking at any kicking game advantages? Are we looking at, obviously, Guntersville's got the big-time field goal kicker. Any hidden yards, giveaway, takeaways, anything we're missing here?
Scottsboro is pretty solid special teams-wise as well, and I talked to Van about that, and that's one thing he has emphasis on that they're really going to be practicing this week. And they haven't had to punt a lot, so that's another thing. Which one of these two teams has to punt, in that Arab game, that came up. I mean, it was a 14-0 ball game heading into the fourth. So there's a lot of punting going on. So those are key factors as well. I think you're right about that. I think both of these guys have really good special teams. So I think that's going to be gridlocked as well.
Look, special teams is a phase of the game. I've seen a lot of people win football games with special teams. I've seen a lot of people lose football games with special teams. So when it comes here and you're playing, you got 2 teams playing that's not used to having to do a whole lot of meaningful special teams as far as punting and stuff like that, or punting in critical situations, it could play a big part in the ball game.
Now, am I wrong? But Guntersville, having gone to the semifinals, have they been in more bigger games, possibly than Scottsboro? Every time I'm Coach Van, I'm trying to give you some stuff to work with here.
He does it every week.
Yeah, I try to help you out, buddy. But Guntersville has been in the big games.
Yeah, they have. And Scottsboro's been in some pretty big games too as well last year. Coach Bell had them undefeated for a large margin of the season last year, and they were rolling, running that triple. And they had some very big games last year, but I know Coach Van's been in some big games, and I know these kids from Scottsboro's been in some big games, especially regular season-wise. So, I mean, I don't think the atmosphere is going to be too big for them, but I know for a fact Scottsboro's got something to prove after that Central Clay game.
Hey,
that was an awakening.
Listen to these receiver sizes for Guntersville, and then I'm going to shut up and be done.
Yeah,
so
we got to get to our helmet
stickers.
stickers.
6'5", number 3, 6'4", number 9, 6'5", number 18, and that is Dadrian Waller, that is Cameron Logan, and that is Trayvon Avery. 6'4", 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, I did get a chance to see them in.
Listen, you can coach up all you want to.
Yeah,
but if you're trying to go 5'10" on 6'5", it's
matchups.
Hey, you got to negate that. It's getting to them.
Yep.
And sometimes you can take out one guy, maybe 2, but when it gets 3 and it gets all over the field.
Yeah, you can't give them time to go to throw the ball down the field. You got to get after them up front.
Well, I can tell you one thing.
Linebackers.
I'm going to that game in person, and I cannot wait to get there.
No doubt.
That's going to be a fantastic
doubt.
football game. All right, helmet sticker time, guys. We're actually running
listen,
late.
I
now.
got
We're
tired
2
of y'all.
minutes late.
I
We
got
8
tired of
minutes.
y'all stealing my guys, so I'm putting all my 3 guys at the front this week.
We got 3 now.
Yeah, I just since I made the graphic, I figured I'd make the executive decision to go ahead and get 3.
All right, well,
I couldn't
go
make up my
ahead.
mind.
Kick it off.
Caden Gooden of the Weaver Bearcats, a team that has struggled, was winless coming into the ball game last week. Had a big game against Glencoe, and Caden did what Caden does: 141 rushes for 141 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns. Added 70 through the air, and also added 5 tackles on the defensive side of the football. It's one thing. He's the leader of that football team. They've been struggling. It'd be real easy to quit along the season, but they kept going. And then what happened to him a few weeks ago, where he had to be airlifted out of a game, for him to still be playing this year is a miracle. And so congratulations to Caden Gooden, the Weaver Bearcats, and congrats on a big night, Caden. My next guy is Quindavian McDowell. I said that name right. Yes, I did. From Alexandria. McDowell had a touchdown catch in the game the other night, but he made his mark on the defensive side of the football with 2 interceptions in a game that could have went either way. It was huge. Down 27-14, came back and won 28-27 against a really, really good Hopes Bluff team. So those 2 defensive turnovers that he had were huge in that game. Players make plays, and McDowell made plenty of plays for the Alexandria Valley Clubs. And then my last person is Crew Martin. I told y'all earlier, a lot of starters out, a lot of injuries for the White Plains Wildcats. They're on a 2-game winning streak. Even through all of that, Rodney Perry had been their guy the week before. He was banged up this week and spent a lot of times on the sidelines, which meant sophomore Crew Martin, the quarterback for the White Plains Wildcats, had to step up. Crew ran for 174 yards on 26 carries, had 2 touchdowns, and was almost perfect through the air as well on the little bit that he had to throw, but really put his team on his back and got them a win over Asheville on the road this past week.
All right, I had a lot of guys I looked at just briefly. I saw Collinsville's Mason McAteer, 285 yards passing. Coosa Christian's Colin Johnson, 86-yard touchdown return. Logan Anderson, there he was, 335. He's back, man. Superman is back. TJ Worthy, 5 touchdowns. Luke Gilbert for Pisgah, 5 touchdowns. We looked at a lot. Bryce Whitaker, there he is at Hopes Bluff, 200 yards. Brody Blevins accounted for over 300 passing and rushing combined. So there's a lot of guys that we sat there and looked at, but the guy that one of my former players, really proud of him, Keller Skaggs, coming off injuries, had 11 carries, 205 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the 42-28 win over Section. Really big win for those guys, and wins have been hard to come by there, and that guy has stayed through thick and thin, and he is a gladiator, man's man right there. Keller Skaggs, much deserved.
Yes, sir. Man, he's a football player.
He is a football
I know
player.
his uncle really well, and actually talked to his uncle pretty often, and his cousin as well. All right, my first player, hey, we just talked about these guys, and I'm going to be so glad to see these guys out on the field Friday night, is Jacoby Edmondson from Scottsboro. This young man stepped in last year in a role, kind of burst out onto the scene. This week he had 252 yards rushing, 17 carries while he did that for 4 touchdowns. This guy is calm, cool, and collective. He's a steady running back. He's got power. He's got speed. He can put his foot in the dirt, get upfield. He's a great compliment to Jake Jones, and Coach Van has a stud guy with Jacoby Edmondson. Fantastic football player there for Scottsboro, and they're going to be giving him the ball a heavy dose this upcoming weekend versus Guntersville. That's my first guy. All right, here's my second guy. Surprise, surprise. Logan Anderson of the Fife Red Devils. No surprise to me, no surprise to you, no surprise to you. No. I'm not going to say he's back because he's never went anywhere. 335 yards, 4 touchdowns. This is the Logan Anderson that we all know and love and expect. And if you guys have not seen the pictures and videos that Voice of DeKalb did with him and his little brother running out of the tunnel together,
man.
fantastic. And it's blown up, and rightfully so. He loves his little brother. To have those guys, out there at Fife, bring him in the huddle, I know it means the world to him and his little brother. And for Logan to be a part of that and bring his little brother in there too, share these moments with him. You know, him being a senior right here before he goes off to Clemson, and he's a 4-star. Love Logan Anderson, love their family. Kudos to Logan, well-deserved helmet sticker.
Hey,
game.
if you're right though, if you want to see something good, and it seems like all we hear is negative stuff
Yeah,
now.
and
If
then
you
you-
want to see something good,
Yep.
go look at that.
Yeah, go
It's
to Voice
awesome.
of DeKalb.
Awesome.
Marla, a good friend of our show, check her out. New network she started up there called Voice of DeKalb. Go follow them. Check out the pictures of Logan and his brother out on the field together.
Seeing him firsthand, he played defense this last week, and he disrupted a lot and hadn't played a lot of defense. And, hey, that dude can make a living defensively. All right, Etowah, Jameson Sism, he has been that dude has put out great numbers week after week, but let's go ahead and there's been a lot of times he's probably deserved it.
Look up there on the screen. This
Yeah.
is his second one.
Yeah, 16 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns. Then he was 12 of 21 passing the ball, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he accounted for 5 yards. The dude, when he packs a lunch every Friday night.
If you are a college football team and you want a sleeper, you're looking at him right there on the screen, Jameson Sism. He has opened his recruiting back up, not only to baseball, but to football. So you need to take a serious look at that young man. Guys, we got 1 minute, and we're going to go off the air. Take over.
He talked about Logan Anderson playing defense. He needs to go in and just embrace the dark side. When he gets to Clemson, go ahead and move to linebacker, make your family a lot of money one day, and go ahead and knock people's head off, use your athleticism, and go make some money and play the NFL for a long time.
He's got the frame to do so,
Ain't no
buddy,
doubt.
and the
I'm so jealous
athleticism.
of his frame.
All right, games to see. Gadsden City, Fort Payne, Leeds, Moody. Cherokee County hosts Bluff. That's a good little rivalry. I think Collinsville, Sylvania could be a goodie. So you guys, if you're out there close, get a chance. Go see some high school football Friday night.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. We
You
got.
finish it out, big dog.
Okay, I'm so excited about Guntersville and Scottsboro. I'm going to be at that one personally. I'm really excited to see which way that game goes. Leeds and Moody, definitely excited about that one. That's all we got this week, guys. We're going to shut it down. See you guys next week.
You need strength, resilience, and hope to face life challenges. And I found all 3 at Gaston State Community College. I'm Jada Pickens, an office administration student at Gaston State's Ayers campus in Anniston. Along with attending classes, I work